Hello everyone. If you like this audiobook and want to listen to more, please consider subscribing. And if you like this video, like it as well, that it enjoy.
36. Who decided that? Lily Pav, Dungeon, 6th floor. The air here always feels heavier. Damp, stale, and thrumming with hidden danger. A persistent tension makes you second-guess every shadow, as monsters could pop out of the wall next to you. I stand quietly behind my new party, clutching the straps of my pack. They're locked in a fight with a war shadow, its long, slender arms darting through the air with the lethality of sharpened blades. At the front, the vanguard does their work. A burly dwarf with a tower shield and hammer braces against the monster's strikes, his boots scraping across the stone as he absorbs blow after blow. Beside him, a human swordsman darts in and out, taking shallow swings at the creature when an opening appears. His timing is decent, but not impressive. Behind them, a catwoman with tan skin and sharp golden eyes knocks arrow after arrow, loosing shafts that barely pierce the war shadow's hide, falling off each time the creature moves, and clattering harmlessly against the ground. She clicks her tongue each time, her face scrunching up in annoyance, but maintaining its fierce focus. The last member, another dwarf, smaller and rounder, hangs back to watch their rear, blade ready but spirit timid. It's a balanced party, on paper. But in practice, they're mediocre. I watch them work with a blank face, eyes following every movement. Not because I care, but because I have to. The only one Lily should be wary of is the cat lady. I note silently, her ears twitch with every sound, her sharp eyes taking in every movement around her, and her reflexes are superb. She'd probably notice if something goes missing. The rest, they're sloppy, overconfident, or cowardly. Too used to things going their way, and too focused on themselves to properly grasp the world around them. But that's just how most adventurers are. I think bitterly. They act like the world exists to serve them. Greedy, arrogant, selfish, every single one of them. From the moment we met, they made it clear what I was to them. A tool, a convenience. They offered me 2% of the take, and called it generous. Expected me to thank them, despite the standard being equal distribution. I smiled, like I always do. I thanked them for their generosity, like I'm supposed to do. Inside, I was already counting how many magic stones I could pocket without them noticing. They won't pay me anyway. I remind myself, it's something I've learned from numerous experiences. So Lily will simply take what she's owed. My grip tightens on the straps of my pack. I've stolen 3 magic stones so far. 2 from goblins, and 1 from a kobold. They're small, and easy to hide. Not worth much either, but every little bit helps. The war shadow gives one last shriek before collapsing under the dwarf's hammer. The sound echoes down the corridor as the low, dying wail fades into silence. Phew, that was tough. The shieldbearer grunts, shaking out his arm. That thing put a few nasty dents in my shield. Ha, don't worry, the swordsman says, clapping him on the back. We'll make enough to fix it up. Maybe even upgrade it, huh? The dwarf swats his hand away with a glare. Don't touch me. The man just laughs, clearly used to the response. Hey, focus. The catwoman snaps, looking annoyed. We're still in the dungeon. Don't start chatting and let your guards down. Her golden eyes flick toward me, narrowing. Supporter, get the magic stones, now. Yays, right away, I squeak, pasting on a cheerful, deferential smile. The persona slips on easily. A bright, clumsy little supporter, eager to please. The one who's too harmless to be a threat, too grateful to complain, and too stupid and weak to resist. It's a mask I've worn so long it's begin to feel like a second skin. I hurry forward, crouching beside the war shadow's corpse. The creature looks menacing up close, but I don't flinch. The short knife in my hand slides in cleanly, and with practiced movements, I begin dissecting it. I've done this hundreds of times. Cut, pry, dig, collect. The routine calms me. It's something so insignificant, most overlook me while I work. But it's better to be ignored. I remind myself, it's better when they forget you exist. Around adventurers, attention increases your odds of getting hurt, while being silence keeps you alive. Then, a voice slices through the low chatter of my party. Who are you? The catwoman hisses, her bow half-raised. My body goes still, knife frozen mid-motion. I follow her gaze, and my stomach begins churning. Down the tunnel, 3 figures appear. Armor, faces, and all too familiar scowls. No, I breathe inwardly, blood draining from my face. It's them, my last party. My heart starts hammering the moment I see them. Of course it'd be them. Of all the people we could have run into down here, fate really does hate Palams. Their eyes lock onto me instantly, recognition lighting up their faces before turning to the cat lady standing in front of me. We mean you no harm. Their leader says, flashing that same oily smile I've come to dread. We've just got some business with the Palam over there. He jerks his thumb at me, making sure everyone sees exactly who his target is. My current party tenses, swords half-raised, as their feet shifting back, but their breathing still uneven. The fight with the war shadow drained them, and even without that, I see it in their eyes. They don't intend to fight. Not if it's for me. I let out a small, bitter laugh that gets lost in the damp air. I already know how this ends. She's our supporter, the human swordsman says stiffly, forcing bravery into his voice. She's carrying our loot. I can't just hand her over. It sounds noble, protective, even, but Lily knows better. The leader chuckles, eyes narrowing. We're not after your haul. You can keep her pack, and whatever she's carrying for you. We just want the girl. She's not worth dying over, right? My so-called comrades trade glances. Then their gazes all turn toward me. Gone is the dismissive indifference I'd grown comfortable with. I'm its place as callous calculation and attention. The kind that hinders any plans of survival. I exhale, my shoulders slumping. Lily gives up, I mumble, raising my hands. Their relief is almost immediate. My former party grins, showing smug satisfaction through ugly teeth. My current one glares down at me with disgust for surrendering, like they hadn't already decided to abandon me. The dwarf steps forward first, yanking my backpack off my shoulders. I stumble forward, then hit the ground as he shoves me aside. They check the contents, loot, potions, supplies, making sure they lose nothing in the trade. Then the human grabs my arm and drags me toward my old party. I don't resist. I've learned resistance only ever makes the pain worse. He tosses me to the ground in front of them like a sack of garbage. We good? He asks, not bothering to spare me a single glance. Yeah, my old leader says, you're free to go. If anyone asks, the supporter died to a monster attack. Simple, clean, forgettable, just another Palam lost to the dungeon. And everyone here knows no one would bother questioning my death. They nod, satisfied. They're already moving to leave when the cat lady stops, her tail twitching. Ack. Pain shoots through my stomach as her boot slams into me, flipping me over. I barely have time to gasp before she crouches down and rips my robe open, exposing the knife I'd hidden there, the dissecting knife I used earlier. You thought I wouldn't notice? She sneers, plucking it from its sheath and tossing it aside. The sound of metal scraping stone echoes cruelly. Knew you were a crafty little rat. She flashes me a sharp-toothed smile before strutting away. The men left behind no longer smile victoriously, as their faces twist with fury. You were still planning something. One snarls. After all that, I stare blankly at the knife lying out of reach. That was Lily's last hope. My one plan, to wait until my current party left, stab one of the remaining three as a distraction, and run. I know I'd never win. And my chances of surviving in the dungeon alone are abysmal, but I had to escape. I could hide, survive, and maybe make it back. But now, it's gone. Hopelessness settles in my chest like a sinking stone. You think you can make a fool of us again? The leader growls. You think you can play us again? After what you and that white-haired freak pulled? Before I can react, his boot crashes into the side of my head. My vision blurs. The ground tilts. I roll across the cold stone until my shoulder slams into the dungeon wall. Everything hurts. My head's ringing. My stomach's twisted. I want to cry, to scream, to beg them to stop. But I don't. Crying only fuels their cruelty. Their shadows close in as taunts, curses, and kicks rain down on me. Each blow blurs into the next until I can't tell which hurts more, the pain or the humiliation. Why Lily? I think dully. What did Lily ever do wrong? A kick to the ribs steals my breath, and another to the face bursts stars across my vision. A hand clamps around my throat and I'm yanked upright, my back scraping against the rough dungeon wall. Stone cuts into my skin while I choke, clawing weakly at his wrist. Don't. Kill. Lily, please, I wheeze. He slams my head back against the wall. Shut up. His voice echoes off the stone, his breath foul against my face. You're not walking out of here alive. His grip tightens. My vision blackens. I can see nothing but his furious eyes, and behind them, the joy of dominance. The thrill of power. Tears slip down my cheeks. Not from the pain, just from being so tired. Why is it always Lily? Why does Lily always have to suffer? The world dims around the edge of my vision. Somewhere deep in my mind, I see him. The white-haired, blue-eyed devil who started all this. The man who'd saved me before. Bastard, I think bitterly, even as I feel my lips moving on their own. Save Lily, it comes out as a rasp. A dying prayer to no one. The man laughs, pressing harder. No one's coming, you stupid runt. No one ever will. And who decided that? The new voice cuts through the air, low, cold, and sharp enough to make the man's hand freeze around my throat. 37. The illusion of choice. Riven Pav, dungeon, 6th floor. And who decided that? The words are barely out of my mouth before my body moves. My sword leaves my hand in a flash, with no hesitation in my movements. It slices through the air like an arrow, and finds its mark with a wet crack, cleaving through the man's skull like paper. The blade keeps going, embedding itself halfway into the dungeon wall with a shrill metallic ring that echoes down the corridor. For a moment, no one dares to breathe, fearful they'll be next. The man's body crumples. His head, rather than split, had burst open, spraying red and gray matter across the stone. Lily falls with him, gasping for air as the hand around her throat goes limp. I blink, momentarily distracted. It actually cut into the dungeon wall. I tilt my head slightly. I thought the dungeon would be sturdier. Not at the fact that I killed someone for the first, second time. My last life doesn't really count. But that my sword lodged deeper into a wall than I thought it ought to. Blood pools in the floor, as the thick, metallic smell permeates the corridor. So, this is what killing someone feels like. Nothing. Just nothing. There's no rush of adrenaline, or crushing guilt. Unexpected to feel something. Disgust, thrill, maybe even regret. Yet, I only feel a faint disappointment. Disappointment that the kill didn't feel earned or significant. My opponent too weak to make me feel like I achieved something. PFF'd. Ha 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 ha. A loud, manic laugh bursts out of me before I can stop it. Everyone jerks back, eyes wide, like they're staring at something inhuman, and maybe they are. The two remaining adventurers draw their weapons, hands trembling so hard I wonder how they're maintaining their grip. Why you killed him, one stammers, his voice cracking. K-killing's a crime. It's against the law. I stop laughing, and calmly meet his eyes. A heavy silence stretches between us until I see panic rising behind his pupils. Pot calling the kettle black. I murmur, then grin. Besides, I shrug casually. It's only a crime if you get caught. And who'd report it if there are no witnesses? My grin widens. People die in the dungeon all the time. The words hang in the air, weighing down on everyone present. Inside, my mind ticks forward with machine-like detachment. I guess I'm so calm because of Iron Heart. I ask GS. Answer. Correct. Current emotional desensitization is predominantly due to the unique skill, Iron Heart. So I'm not a crazy psychopath then? I ask, half-jokingly, and half-genuine. Answer. No major indicators of psychopathy or mental instability detected. Thanks, GS. Nice to have an objective perspective. I choose to ignore the word major, and take what I can get. After all, everyone's a little crazy, so minor instability is to be expected. Maybe I'd feel guilty if they were innocent, and maybe someday I'll find out. But right now, trash is trash, and there's no need to feel guilty for cleaning up. A faint smile touches my lips. The entire exchange, from inner turmoil to resolution, lasts maybe half a second as thought acceleration speeds it all up. Now, I exhale softly, rolling my shoulders. Where were we? Before they can blink, I'm gone. The first man's chest caves in with a single strike. The sound is sickening. A wet crunch echoes as air escapes lungs that can no longer hold their shape anymore. He drops to his knees, coughing blood, as his ribs, shattered glass beneath his skin, puncture his lungs. That was too much. I should have held back a lot more. I note absently. He'll drown in his own blood soon enough. The other one's already backpedaling, blade shaking. His eyes flick to his dead friend, to me, to the exit, as his survival instincts lose to terror. His heart was in the right place. He probably thought to run away, but alas, I was faster. He doesn't even scream when I hit him. Just as my boot connects to his gut, gently, he's sent hurtling into the dungeon wall with bone-cracking force. He smashes into it with a heavy thud, instantly bouncing off of it and landing on the floor completely unconscious, as the smell of urine spreads through the blood-soaked air. That'll do. A bit annoying he went himself though. I groan. Lily hasn't moved. She's trembling, her wide eyes fixed on me, her face streaked with blood and tears, most of which aren't even hers. I ignore her for now and step toward the man still gasping on the floor. He tries to crawl, but I plant my foot on his back, pressing him down until I feel his spine strain beneath my heel. Still alive, huh, I muse. Wonderful. Predator. Black smoke seeps from his skin as his body convulses violently, and a strangled scream tearing from his throat. H. Don't be dramatic. I sigh, pressing down harder. The scream breaks into a wet gargle. Blood bubbles from his lips as air vacated his punctured lungs. His bleed as he claws uselessly at the floor. The smoke thickens, and I can feel it, his exelia, his life's essence, being siphoned. A shiver runs through me at the sensation. It's not exactly pleasure, just awareness and satisfaction as my body is re-energized. When the last wisp fades, his body stills. He's still not dead, but it'd be hard to call him living. I crouch, tilt his head, and lift his shirt. His fauna is faintly imprinted on his back, but it's now fractured like glass. Gone is the divine script, numbers, or any other information. GS, how much did I just take? Answer. Estimated absorption, 10% of total exelia. Target's fauna vessel has sustained significant damage, and severe soul damage detected. Soul damage, is it fatal? Answer. Number. The resulting state causes a vegetative state, and the target cannot receive fauna or gain exelia again. So basically, a breathing corpse. Lovely. I straighten, dusting off my hands. The silence feels heavier now. I can even hear the steady rhythm of my heart, and somewhere behind me, Lily, shivering like a leaf. Too bad he didn't have any skills. I would have liked to test if I could steal them with this method. I sigh, kicking the man's limp arm aside. Then, finally, I turn to her. Lily's still on her knees, petrified, stares at me like I'm a monster. I find it offensive, since I'm sure I look good, but maybe she's right. You didn't try to sneak away this time? I ask lightly, giving her an innocent smile. There's no response. She begins trembling even more as tears start leaking from her eyes. She's drenched in blood, injured all over, but she makes no sound. Even her breathing seems shallow. I blink. Not even a, thank you. I ask in amusement. Lily Pav, dungeon, 6th floor. Lily's going to die. Lily's going to die. Lily's going to die. My thoughts race in time with my beating heart. Fast, loud, and suffocating. Every instinct screams at me to run, but my body knows better. Moving will just draw more attention, and drawing attention means dying. So I stay still, kneeling in blood that isn't mine, and trembling so hard it feels like my bones will shatter. Lily's going to die. Each thought echoes like the tick of a clock counting down my remaining life. When he finally speaks, my entire body jerks like a puppet pulled along by invisible strings. Lily is thankful. I blurt out, my voice shaking so badly it comes out more as a squeak than actual speech. I bow low, and lower, until my forehead presses onto the wet floor. The blood clings to my skin, still warm and sticky, its metallic scent filling my nose as I resist the urge to vomit. I stay down, not daring to look up. Every soft footstep draws closer, echoing down the empty corridor with quiet finality. Each step sounds like a hammer striking a nail into a coffin I likely won't be buried in. When he stops in front of me, I feel it, his presence pressing down on me with tangible weight. The shrill ring of sliding metal follows as he pulls his sword free of the wall. My breathing stops. This is it. Lily was wrong. I cry, my voice breaking. Lily shouldn't have run away last time. Lily's sorry. Please, please forgive Lily. My forehead scrapes against the stone as I bow deeper, as if pressing my head down hard enough might somehow save my life. I wait for the bite of steel, and the embrace of death. Instead, there's silence. Then, a faint shimmer dances against my closed eyelids, as the air feels less chilling. I cracks one eye open, and the world is dotted with faint blue light. Motes of dust swirling like tiny stars before settling gently onto my skin. Wherever they touch, the pain fades. The gash on my arm closes, and the burning in my ribs dulls to nothing. I blink, stunned. I eyes this, magic? I asks in a small, breathless voice. Lily doesn't understand. He hums thoughtfully from above me, his tone maddeningly casual. What don't you understand? There's a hint of amusement in his voice. A cruel, lazy sort of playfulness. I swallow hard. Aren't you going to kill Lily? I whisper, the words tumbling out before I can stop them. He smiles faintly. I've saved you twice. It'd be wasteful to kill you if I didn't have to. My stomach twists. Wasteful. His words implying conditional survival. So you'll kill Lily, if you have to. The thought burns in my mind, but I don't say it aloud. He finishes healing me a few seconds later, and dusts off his hands. There you go. You're covered in blood, but no longer hurt. He smiles down at me, looking cheerful, and almost friendly. The sight makes my skin crawl. That same mouth had burst into laughter after bursting open someone's head, and smiles while crushing another's chest and torturing them to death. A smile like that could mean I'm next. I drop my head again so fast I slam it into the ground with force. Thank you for healing Lily. I squeak. Lily will do anything to repay you. Anything. You're welcome, he says calmly. But, you know I can't just let you go after you've seen me kill a bunch of people, right? My heart stops. His earlier words replay in my mind. It's only a crime if you get caught. Who'd report it if there are no witnesses? People die in the dungeon all the time. And now, I'm a witness. It's hopeless. The word hangs heavy in my chest. But then, his footsteps move away from me. Metal scrapes against stone, followed by the sound of something heavy being dragged. When he returns, there's a dull thud in front of me. Go on, he says. Take a look. I lift my head slowly, and what I see makes my blood run cold. The last surviving adventurer, beaten and unconscious, lies in front of me. And beside him, my knife. Lily's knife, I ask. Yeah, he crouches, gesturing casually between the two. Right now, if you told the guild or the gods about this, it'd be a headache for me. But, he shrugs as his smile widens. If you kill him, we'd be in the same boat. You'd be an accomplice, rather than a witness. He says it so casually, like he's asking what to have for dinner, rather than ending someone's life. The words don't fully register at first. You want Lily to kill him. I repeat numbly. But I'm not forcing you. He says with an innocent smile. You can always refuse. His warm and friendly tone make it worse than any threat. It sounds honest, like he means it. My breath hitches as my eyes dart between the knife and his smile. If I refuse, he'll kill me. If I accept, I'll become a killer. It's the illusion of choice. I think bitterly. My hands move before I even realize it. My fingers curling around the knife's hilt. It's small, light, and familiar, but it suddenly carries an unseen weight. My heart pounds harder. The world feels like it's shrinking, like every breath I take is being measured and judged. One move, and he'll kill me. Go ahead, he says softly. I'll wait. His tone is gentle, patient, and that terrifies me more. I stare down at the unconscious man, then at my bloody hands. My throat tightens. Lily's never killed anyone directly before. The thought echoes inside my mind, like the knife sensation of the knife in my hand. My tears blur the world, as my breath comes in short gasps. Can Lily really do it? The answer comes like a whisper from the deep abyss of hell. Lily doesn't have a choice. I close my eyes, and plunge the knife down. 38 Purpose of Annoying Things. Riven Pav, Dungeon, 6th floor. I watch calmly as she raises the knife, her hands trembling so violently the blade wavers. Then, just before it stabs him, I catch her wrist. Her breath hitches, her eyes snap wide open in terror, like a cornered animal as the trap snaps shut. At least she was willing to do it. I muse, studying her expression, even if it's because she thought I'd kill her if she didn't. There's a huge difference in usefulness between someone who can kill, and one who never will. I sigh and offer a small, disarming smile. Relax. It was just a test to see if you'd go through with it. You passed. She doesn't look relieved. If anything, she looks even more scared. Probably believing that since the test is over, so too is her subscription to life. I'm serious, I add, releasing her hand and taking a step back so I don't loom over her. You can kill him if you want, but it's optional. I'll handle it myself if you won't. Her eyes flicker uncertainly, darting between me, the knife, and the unconscious man on the ground. She's frozen, unsure if refusing will anger me or please me. It isn't another test, I think, watching her hesitate, but don't bother reassuring her further. I glance at the adventurer and weigh the situation. If she turned on me, the gods would see through any lie I make, but, then a thought had struck me when she raised the knife. A potential loophole. I had quietly asked GS if her speaking for me would be able to circumvent the lie detection. And her answer was, Answer. Divine lie detection functions by observing fluctuations in the soul when deceit is attempted. By using Great Sage in conjunction with Ironheart, it is possible to maintain a stable soul state, and lie undetected. A slow grin had spread across my face. Perfect. If I let GS speak through me while Ironheart suppresses my reactions, then it'd be my word against hers. And she's a lot less trustworthy than me. So forcing her to kill him isn't necessary anymore. I exhale softly, pull my sword free, and drive it through the man's chest. The motion is quick and clean as Biss' body jolts once, before going still. Lily flinches, eyes shutting tight. Now, I wipe the blade on the man's clothes, before flicking the remaining blood off with force. Then, I turn my gaze back to her. Lily, right, you need me to escort you back to the surface. She jumps at being addressed, her gaze fixed on the ground. Lily couldn't trouble you any more than Lily already has. Her voice trembles with each word, as she pushes through fear to speak. All right, I shrug, then take whatever you want. Your stuff, their gear, you might as well profit from it after what you've gone through. I shift my sword slightly, cutting off the man's belt, as his sword a few more items fall to the floor. She watches in disbelief, mouth opening once as if to protest, then closing again. Her expression is almost comical, suspecting my generosity for another trap. Must be confusing not having someone extort you for once, I think wryly. When I'm done, I sling my sword back and grab one of the bodies by the leg, dragging it behind me as I turn toward the deeper tunnels. I'm Riven Alaric, I say over my shoulder. Captain of the Hestia Familia. If you want to report your party, you'll need a witness, and I'll vouch for you. I pause, then add. We've got a shop in the clothing district, and you can find me there. We're also hiring, if you're interested. My voice echoes faintly in the corridor as I walk away. Thank you, she calls suddenly, voice high and shaking much less than before. Lily is grateful for your help. I glance back once, giving a small smile. I'm unsure if she's thanking me out of fear or habit, but either way, it doesn't matter. You're welcome, I reply evenly, before turning the corner and letting out with a long sigh once I'm far enough. It's so inconvenient having people around. I release my hold-on sword and the corpse, absorbing them both into stomach. Is it useful? I ask internally. Answer. There was no exelia to absorb. I frown as realization sets in. It's likely because Fauna draws power from the living souls, and the blessing disappears once they die. I shake my head. It's disappointing, but not worth thinking further about. There's a chance I could absorb inherent power or skills not tied to Fauna, but that would need further experimentation. But for now, there's only one thing left on today's list. Killing things. I hum softly to myself as I step deeper into the dungeon. Riven Pav, dungeon, 12th floor. A manic laugh tears from my throat as I leap high into the mist-choked air. The dungeon fog billows beneath me, and a massive orc swings an uprooted tree through the mist like a club. I land lightly on the trunk midswing, my boots biting into the rough bark as the air whips past my face. For an instant, I'm surfing a mountain of wood hurled by a monster the size of a house. The grin on my face widens. Before the orc can react, I sprint along the trunk straight toward it. Another one roars and swings from the side. I duck low, its tree whistling inches over my head, then draw sword and carve through the reaching arm of a third orc. Hot blood sprays through the air. The severed limb hits the ground next, and its owner's roar follows last. I use the momentum, twist, and launch myself off the trunk. The world blurs for an instant, and then I'm eye level with the largest of the three. I slice horizontally, cutting cleanly through its upper face. Bone, muscle, and eye part like paper. It doesn't even have time to scream before its body crashes down with a thunderous boom that shakes the cavern. More roars follow, guttural and furious, mixing with the rush of air as the other orcs swing again. Finally, some enthusiasm, I twist midair, narrowly avoiding another tree, grab onto a broken branch, and use it to pivot before dropping straight down onto the second orc. One sharp movement, and its head parts from its neck. The last one howls, swinging wildly now in panic. I rush in, duck under a horizontal sweep, and slice through its leg. It crashes to its knees, its roar cut short when my second swing shears its arm off. The third blow ends the fight, its head rolling through the air in one direction, while its body falls in another. The cavern falls silent except for my breathing. I let out a calm and steady exhale. The fight wasn't exciting, exactly. It's just the thrill and adrenaline pumping energy through my body that makes me happy. It's like stretching after sitting too long. Scratching an itchy that never really left. It's a shame my fists aren't stronger. I muse aloud, flicking blood off sword. It would have been fun to go hand to hand. I activate Predator, letting the corpses dissolve into black smoke as I absorb them one by one. The trek down here hadn't been uneventful. Killer ants, needle rabbits, and numerous other monsters came at Nay, but they were all crushed, mutilated, or gutted. After using breathing technique and reinforcing my body, none of them were worth more than a few seconds each. Still, their drops in magic stones would be useful for magic recovery, forging, or any other experiments I might try. Along the way, I'd started collecting large stones too, storing them in stomach as ammo for dealing with flying pests. Which brings me to Skreeeeeeeeee. My spine prickles as the shrill, piercing cry splits the air. The sound scrapes through the cavern like nails on metal. I frown. Bad bats. They circle above, their leathery wings beating in the mist, out of reach but not out of range. Why are they so annoying? I groan internally. Even goblins are more dangerous. Answer. Bad bats can emit concentrated sonic waves capable of stunning or disorienting targets. Ironheart is nullifying this effect. GS chimes in, conveniently as always. So for a normal level 1, that noise could get them killed mid-fight. I conjure a stone from stomach, hefting it once before throwing. It blurs through the air, slamming into a bat's wing with a crack. The creature spirals, shrieking, and crashes into the dirt. Another stone, another shriek, 2 down. Curious, I walk over and kneel beside the twitching one, pressing a hand to its head as Predator activates. This time, the body does not disintegrate into smoke, but rather, is absorbed intact, alive. A second passes, the only noise being the screeching if the remaining downed bat, when. Notice. Skill, sonic scream, acquired. A grin slowly spreads across my face. Even annoying things like you have a purpose. The remaining bat screeches louder, wounded but defiant. The noise keeps grating against my ears, but this, I smile. Let's test it. The moment I open my mouth, the skill fires off instinctively. Ah, the sound explodes from my throat like thunder. The entire chamber trembles as a physical vibration that rattles the bones in my chest escapes my mouth. The world seems to shake as dust rains from the ceiling. The bat freezes mid-screech, its body twitching before dropping limp and silent. I blink. They fainted. I process it for a moment, then laugh. There's no way the skill's that strong. I murmur, though the thought lingers. Maybe it's not that the ability isn't powerful, it's just that the bats are weak. A bat isn't loud, so the boost the skill must give is enormous. Still, power is power. As thanks to the bats, I gently cradle its head, then crush its skull one-handed before absorbing the remains with Predator. Now, at least, I won't have to deal with aerial pests anymore. And if I combine Sonic Scream with the Minotaur's Howl, the possibilities make me grin. I stretch, rolling my shoulders, the quiet hum of the dungeon settling around me again. I was supposed to stop here, on the 12th floor, but the thought itches at the back of my mind, as the dungeon seems to beckon me deeper. Well, I mutter to myself. A few more floors never hurt anyone. I'll just go down until I find a Minotaur or two. I'm sure Hestia, being the benevolent goddess she is, will understand and forgive me for the sins I'm about to commit. I nod to myself, the logic being sound, and whistle a low tune as I walk toward the passage leading down, the mist parting around me like curtains on a stage. 39, Boo, Riven Pav, Dungeon, Floor 13. So this is why the 13th to 17th floors are called the Cave Labyrinth. I muse, stepping into the next floor. The change is immediately apparent. Gone is the blinding fog from before, and in its place stretches an endless maze of bedrock. The floor, walls, and ceiling are made of it, while even the air feel heavier. Every tunnel twists into another, branching and curling like veins carved through stone. Dim blue crystals embedded in the walls give off a faint, ghostly light that barely fight against the darkness. Moist air clings to my skin, and each step echoes through the silent corridors. Along the way, I catch glimpses of vertical shafts leading deeper down, gaping maws waiting to swallow the careless. And best of all, so many damn monsters. The complaint betrays the grin spreading across my face. A low rumble sounds beside me, acting as a split-second warning before the wall erupts. Boom! A massive maw bursts out, jagged teeth glinting as it lunges for my head. I duck, feeling the air rip past my hair, and pivot back in time to see the creature's long, writhing body slither free from the wall. A dungeon worm, I mutter. It looks disgusting. Its mouth, filled with rows of sharp fangs, lets out a screeching howl, as though offended by my words, before it snaps towards me again, and I sidestep smoothly, my boots grinding against the stone. As it shoots past. Gotcha. I grab its body mid-lunge. My fingers dig deep into its fleshy body, and my muscles flex as I twist, ripping it cleanly from the wall. Dust and chunks of debris explode outward as the worm shrieks in fury, flailing in my grasp. 3 meters long, I estimate aloud, eyeing its length with a smirk. Perfect. I then spin, using its weight as leverage. The worm screams just before I swing it like a whip. The crack echoes through the corridor as its tail slams into a wall. A wall that moments prior, exploded outward as a massive silverback bursts free, roaring in triumph. Its crimson eyes lock on me, then widen as the incoming worm collides with its chest, smashing it back into the wall it just escaped from. The impact shakes the ground. The silverback bellowed in pain, while the worm thrashes wildly in my grip. Don't be like that, I coo comfortingly, my voice dripping with mock sweetness. You should calm down. It thrashes more vigorously. I said, my time lowers. Behave. I yank it back and whip it again. And again, and again. Each hit lands with a bone-crunching thud. The air begins to reek of blood and dust, and the worm finally goes limp in my hands after a few more shakes. Was that so hard? I sigh, rolling my eyes as I let its corpse dissolve into black mist as Predator devours it whole. Warm, sticky blood stains my fingers, but I easily shake them clean, and do Predator to remove what persists. Walking to where the silverback once stood, there's nothing left but a mangled heap of flesh and shattered stone. Buried somewhere in the mess is a magic stone, which I absorb along with the remains. Even though the sight is enough to invoke instinctive revulsion and disgust in any sane individual, all I can think is, I would have preferred a boxing match with it. I think in disappointment. Then I shrug. There's plenty of monsters in the dungeon. I turn a corner, and stop. 3 silverbacks block the path ahead, their muscles bulging beneath coarse fur, knuckles pressed against the stone as they snarl. Speak of the devil, I grin, cracking my own knuckles, and he shall appear. Their roars shake the air, echoing down the tunnel as they rapidly pound their chests. The beat echoes like a war drum, signaling the start of a fierce battle. And my grin sharpens into something feral. All right then, I smile, stepping forward. Don't disappoint me. The silverbacks charge forward, and so do I. The air whips past my face as stones tremble under their pounding fists. One cocks its arm back for a haymaker, the second crouches low, its muscles bunching for a leap, and the third continues unhindered, bracing to smash me into paste the moment it closes the distance. Their charge is chaotic at first glance, but strangely, there's coordination. Even if it's primitive and instinctual, it is lethal. And to any normal adventurer, it'd be the end. Yet I grin. Boo. The word leaves my lips soft as a whisper, then detonates as sonic scream activates. The shockwave rips down the corridor, rebounding off stone walls in a shrill, concussive echo. The air shivers, while dust is flung upward. The silverbacks falter instantly, their formation shattering. The first silverback loses its balance midswing and crashes backward. The second's jump turns into an embarrassing faceplant as its muscles seize, and the third stumbles to a halt right in front of me, dazed as its muscles fail to follow its will. In that moment, I stare in amazement. I blink rapidly. I didn't think they'd go down that easily. Still, mercy isn't really my thing. My fist rushes forward in a blur of motion, whistling through the air, then crack. The third silverback's skull explodes from the blow as bone, blood, and gray matter paint the tunnel walls in a grotesque mural. Its body drops before it even realizes it's dead. I charge forward, driving my foot down and stomp hard on the second skull as it groggily tries to lift its head. The sound that follows is a wet crunch, like fruit bursting open, as the floor beneath us is dyed red. The last one finally blinks awake, trembling beneath me, my boot planted on its chest, pinning it to the floor. It struggles to breathe as its bones creak under the pressure. I sigh, looking down at it. Is it that you guys weak? I press down harder, feeling its ribs bow inward. or am I just too strong? It wheezes, trying to roar, but all that comes out is a strangled rasp. There's no air left in its lungs to scream with. Its hands grab at my leg, futilely trying to push me off, but I don't budge. Not even gonna answer, huh? I click my tongue, my expression flat. At this time, I conveniently choose to forget that it can't speak at all. Not that it matters. Then die. I push down, hard. Its chest caves in with a sharp crack, ribs snapping as its sternum shatters. I feel the faint crunch of its heart and the brittle snap of the magic stone beneath my heel. The light dies from its eyes before its body dissolves into black dust. I exhale through my nose. TCH, should have been more careful. Lifting my boot, I find glittering fragments embedded in the blood. What a waste. I crouch, gather them up, and let Predator absorb the pieces. And as an experiment. GS, can you repair it? Notice. Magic stone restoration complete. The request is completed almost instantly. I blink, and the magic stone has knitted itself together seamlessly, like it was never damaged in the first place. My eyes widen, excitement flickering within. So I can repair them, I chuckle, my lips curling into a grin. If I can fix broken ones, then I can make use of Goliath's magic stone after fixing it. My pulse quickens at the thought. How much could it sell for? I let myself ponder, before shaking my head with a quiet chuckle. Not that I'd ever sell it. It'd be far better if I used it to create something useful. Straightening up, I dust my hands off and glance toward the tunnel leading deeper into the maze. Hopefully, I murmur, rolling my shoulders, the monsters below can actually put up a fight. With that, I descend toward the next floor, my footsteps echoing against the stone as the scent of blood still permeates the air. After some walking, and right before I descended to the 14th floor, I ran into a hard armor, which is basically an oversized armadillo with a hide as tough as stone. Its beady eyes blinked at me as it rolled up, thinking its shell would save it. It's almost cute how optimistic it was. I caught it mid-roll and smashed it into the wall hard enough to crack the stone behind it. Dust rained down as it struggled, claws scraping uselessly as it tried to free itself. And I tilted my head curiously while grinning. Let's see how many hits you can take. The answer turned out to be one. My fist drove clean through its shell and into its chest cavity, the creature convulsing as blood and chunks of flesh splattered across the floor. I ripped the magic stone out of its chest, watching it twitch once before Predator devoured it. Guess defense isn't everything, I muttered, wiping gore off my arm as I stepped down into the next floor. The 14th floor provided no major change in scenery, but the monsters. So many monsters. The first to greet me were Almiraj, little rabbit creatures I could relate to. These rabbits were axe-wielding maniacs with red eyes and with a similar lust for battle as myself. One charged me, squealing, its axe raised high, and I sidestepped, grabbed its ears, swinging it, before smashing it headfirst into the floor. Bone and metal collided with the floor as its axe clattered away, leaving its owner to die. Then the others came, 13 of them. They swarmed me with purpose, axes whistling through the air in an attempt to reap my life, but I laughed, I ducked, weaved, feeling the gusts generated by their strikes. One swung too wide, and I broke its wrist and used its own axe to split its skull. Another leapt at me from behind, but I turned and met it midair with a knee to the face. Skulls burst, blood spilled, and when the last one tried to flee, I hurled its companion's axe through its back as silence fell, save for my footsteps squelching in river of blood that remained. Deeper in, the tunnels widened again, then I saw them, the Lamia Mormos. With the upper bodies of women, and the lower half a snake, their eyes gleamed with predatory hunger. Their hisses filled the air as they slithered out from the shadows, claws extended. They lunged together, claws flashing towards me. I caught one by the wrist, twisted, and felt bones snap beneath my fingers. She screamed, fangs flashing toward my throat, yet I tore her head off instead. Of the remaining two, I grabbed the tail of one and swung it into the other. The wet crack of impact echoing through the chamber as they collapsed in a tangled heap of broken scales and blood. No matter how human they might look, monsters are monsters. As such, I absorbed their bodies without remorse before moving on. Then came the wyverns. Their screeches echoed from above as two of them swept through the cavern, wings slicing the air. They circled me, trying to keep out of reach, confident in their aerial advantage. Annoying, I muttered, my eyes narrowing. I inhaled sharply, then let it rip. Sonic scream. The roar blasted upward, bouncing through the cavern with a force that shattered stalactites. The wyverns shrieked, their flight faltering as they tumbled from the air like broken kites. One hit the ground hard, wing bent at a grotesque angle, while the other tried to crawl away. But I reached it first. It tried to flap, and I grabbed a wing, pressing my foot firmly against its torso before ripping it off. Bone tore from socket in a spray of blood. It screamed again, but the noise was abruptly cut off as my sword decapitates it. The remaining wyvern was shown no mercy either. By the time I reached the next passage down, I'd lost count of how many monsters I'd encountered. The air stank of blood, and the stone floor was wet beneath my boots. None of them had been worth much of a fight. I sigh, at least I haven't met any of the actual strong monsters yet. There's still hope for a fun fight, I say optimistically. And with that, I started down the winding path to the next level, hoping to encounter something exciting. 40. Notice. Riven Pav, Dungeon, Floor 15. I step onto the 15th floor, and nothing jumps me. There are no sudden roar, or hidden ambushes. It's disappointing. Is the dungeon getting lazy? I mutter jokingly. I almost feel bored. My words must have offended the dungeon, or by pure coincidence. A faint rumble shivers through the wall, and an innocent smile worms its way onto my face. Yay, I cheer. Will it be a Minotaur? I came looking for one of those. I think, bracing myself with a spark of excitement boiling in my chest. Something big, something strong, something. Oh, my anticipation dies a miserable death as a dungeon worm bursts from the wall, its mouth opened wide enough to swallow me whole. I was hoping for something new, I sigh, summoning sword and swinging it casually, fully expecting to bisect the thing in one go. But instead, the world stutters into slow motion. One moment I'm striking at the worm, and the next, my body jerks on its own, feet pushing me back, sword snapping up above my head, its flat edge angled like a shield between me and. Notice. Fatal attack detected. Auto battle mode engaged. I don't resist, my complete trust in GS. But I can't help thinking. Fatal attack from where? My vision turns red. Flames roar from above, swallowing the corridor in a wave of blistering heat. My skin tingles before the fire even reached me. The heat is capable of incinerating an adventurer in seconds. A moment later, I finally notice them. 4 hellhounds, dropping from the ceiling like burning meteors, their jaws open with fire flooding from their mouths. The dungeon worm was just a distraction. The dungeon's so petty, I think grimly. I just complained a little, and it does this. I don't have salamander wool to resist the flames, and a direct hit would roast me alive. Thanks for the head up GS, but I've got this. Notice. Auto battle mode deactivated. GS uses auto battle mode to try and keep me unharmed, but the flames close around me, sealing off every route of escape. The heat presses into my lungs, burning, suffocating, eager to consume me. But my pulse stays steady. I exhale. Ariel. The chant leaves my lips softly, but the effect is anything but gentle. Wind explodes around me in a spiraling vortex. Sword hums in my grip as currents coil around the blade, sharpening its edge with invisible force. More wind spirals around my body like armor as debris whipping past me, and the flames bending away as the air itself forms a barrier. The hellhounds, Inferno slams into my windclad form and skitters harmlessly around it, unable to breach the gale. My body feels lighter, faster, strength flows through me, each breath amplified by the storm swirling at my command. That feels nice, I hum, but refuse to forget my situation. I shift my stance, and tilt sword upward, aligning it perfectly with 2 of the falling hounds. Then swing, whoosh, a violent gust erupts from the blade, ripping through the wall of flame in a blinding arc. The 2 hellhounds in its path are carved apart instantly, first sliced in half, then shredded to numerous pieces before the wind shears a deep gash into the dungeon ceiling. The wind spreads outward, slamming into the remaining 2 hellhounds and hurling them like broken dolls into the wall, leaving deep gashes across their bodies. Blood sprays everywhere, stones crack, but I'm left clean, all blood deflected by the wall of wind surrounding me. Silence settles in the dungeon save for the rushing wind. I stand there, blankly staring at the devastation a single swing caused. The shredded monsters, damaged dungeon, and the air still vibrating along my limbs. I survived when Ice used this against me. I wonder incredulously, how? Answer. Ice Wallenstein's swordsmanship focused her magic into a single point for maximum penetration and damage, but you deflected the attack in avoiding most of the damage. Right, I let out a heavy sigh. I should be more humble and not overestimate myself. I underestimated the dungeon and almost got burnt to a crisp. I thought I could survive a strike from a level 5, but it seems she was holding back. Let me just assume I'd struggle against a level 3, and plan accordingly. I nod to myself, reevaluating my combat ability. The earlier confidence I had, a casual arrogance, crumples in on itself a bit. The dungeon has killed numerous adventurers stronger than me, I can't underestimate it yet. I exhale slowly, lowering sword while the flames die around me. The last threads of adrenaline fade as I look over the battlefield. I could probably handle the floors below the 18th, but I'll level up before heading down there. I decide, there's no need to rush there stupidly. My eyes drift to what's left of the dungeon worm, or rather, the slurry that used to be the dungeon worm. The poor thing got minced by the aftershock of my attack before I even acknowledged it. The body's in pieces, and the magic stones shattered. I sigh, what a waste. The hellhounds I hit directly aren't any better. Nothing remains but scattered meat and smoldering chunks. But the last two, they're still breathing, albeit within an inch of death. A faint, rasping whine reaches me. I look down at the closest hellhound, its body trembling, ribs rising shakily with each anxious breath. Despite its injuries, it bares its fangs, trying, weakly, to growl. I'm glad you're alive, I tell it warmly. I kneel beside it, and the hellhound flinches, but doesn't have the strength to pull away or attack. My hand gently settles atop its scorched fur, stroking between its ears. Up close, it really does resemble a dog. It almost looks cute, if you don't account for the malice in its eyes. Monsters can be tamed, right? Could it be a pet? The idea flashes through my mind, but it's just idle musings and not a serious consideration. The hellhound tries to snarl again, but the sound cracks halfway through. It's terrified, confused, dying. While keeping my comforting smile. Predator. The command leaves my mouth without emotion. The hellhound's eyes widen, and it releases a final, pitiful howl, before it's pulled into stomach alive. Notice. Magic, flame breath, acquired. A satisfied smile forms immediately. Good. The flames were magic. I rise to my feet and dust off my hands. This trip is quite beneficial. The last hellhound can't resist. One clean strike ends it, and I absorb it without ceremony. As silence returns, my eyes drift back to the dungeon wall. The long slashes carved by Ariel are already healing. Stone knits back together, like a wound closing. A thought surfaces as I observe the damage. A stupid, suicidal, Hestia would come for thinking thought. If a juggernaut's magic resistance is a skill, I could steal it. I immediately blacklist the idea before it can seduce me. Nope, I shake my head hard. Not even entertaining that. Hestia would murder me before the juggernaut does. With that, I head toward the staircase to the next floor. Riven Pav, dungeon, floor 16. A deep, guttural roar tears through the corridor. I pivot just in time to see a Ligerfang, a massive, tiger-like monster far too fast for its size, launching straight at me, claws extended, jaws primed to tear out a chunk of my torso. It swings downward, claws slicing through the air. I step into the attack, deflecting its forearm with my palm, redirecting the momentum past me. My body slips beneath it, and I drive a rapid series of punches into its exposed chest. Thud, 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 thud. Each blow lands with a deep, meaty impact, forcing the monster upward with the last strike. The final punch cracks across its ribs like a gunshot, launching it backward and flipping it midair. I angle my head towards it, open my mouth, and flame breath. Scorching red flames blast from my mouth, lighting up the from dungeon as the smell of burnt flesh strikes my nostrils. It only takes 2 seconds before I stop the magic, and a charred carcass is all that remains of the Ligerfang. What remains of the beast slams into the wall hard, most of it crumbling to ash. I roll my shoulders, turning back to my main opponents. 2 minotaurs. Both of them stare at me with burning, primitive fury, as though my existence is a slight against them. Sorry for the interruption, I say with a small shrug. It was beyond my control. They do not appreciate the apology. The first one sucks in a breath, nostrils flaring before unleashing a roar that shakes dust from the cavern ceiling. Is this their skill? Too bad I'm immune to its paralyzing effect. I think, unable to hold back a smirk. Both tighten their grips around their massive axes, wielding them as though they're weightless, and charge me in perfect tandem. Their footfalls thundering towards me. I bend my knees and grin as I charge forward too. The instant I enter their range, both minotaurs swing. One axe tears across the air in a wide horizontal arc, the other descends diagonally with enough force to cleave a boulder. Their muscles bulge like knotted ropes, veins pulsing under coarse fur as each movement radiates raw, murderous strength. But they're slow. I leap over the horizontal strike, planting a light step on the flat of the axe. Using it as a springboard, I launch myself forward, twisting past the diagonal swing. I then drive my knee straight into the minotaur's jaw. Crack. RRAAAAGH. It reels back, shaking the cavern with its bellow. I kick off its chest just as its partner's massive fist slams into the space I'd occupied, burying its knuckles in its companion's ribs instead. Friendly fire. I muse lightly. That's so unprofessional. I twist midair, landing atop the second minotaur. My hands clamp around its horns, and my boots dig between its shoulder blades. It roars, a deep, vibrating sound that rattles dust from the ceiling, and blindly reaches back to grab me. No wonder they say bull riding is hard. I laugh, bracing myself. Then, crack. Its scream fractures the air as I wrench one horn free, tearing it clean off. Before it can react, I ram the broken horn into its reaching arm, pinning the limb uselessly at the shoulder. The entire arm goes limp. The minotaur howls in agony, but its remaining hand tightens around its axe, and my eyes widen slightly. That's brave. The axe sweeps toward me in a desperate, murderous arc. I shift my weight, plant my grip, and drive a heel straight into the minotaur's elbow. Thunk. Its aim snaps sideways. The axe doesn't hit me. It hits its own neck. Schlunk. The creature releases a wet, gargled scream, dropping to its knees as blood fountains down its chest. I push off its back just in time for the first minotaur, having recovered, to bring its axe down in a brutal execution stroke. Thud. The second minotaur's head rolls to the floor. Now it's one-on-one. I say as its body collapses with a heavy thump. The remaining minotaur releases steam from flared nostrils. An animalistic hiss of rage. In response, I show a toothy grin and exhale a faint puff of magical flame using flame breath. Its pupils constrict. What to do? I murmur aloud. I need you alive, remember. RRAAARRRGH. It unleashes a deafening howl, intended to paralyze adventurers through its skill. But it washes over me like a lukewarm breeze. Exactly why I need you alive, I say, grabbing sword and settling into a stance. The last thing I need is killing you by accident. I dash. My speed makes the minotaur grunt in surprise, barely managing to raise its weapon. Its massive axe whistles down toward me. And I cleave straight through it. The adamantite blade slices the iron as if it were wet paper. Arms first, I say sweetly. One downward cut, one upward cut. And both arms drop to the floor, twitching. The minotaur staggers back, blood spraying in harsh, pulsating bursts. Despite the agony, its instincts scream at it to charge, and it lowers its head, horns angled for a desperate, final gore. Next are the legs. I continue calmly. I sidestep the charge and sweep my blade low in a single, merciless arc. And sever the monster at the waist. Blood gushes across the stone-like dark paint. The minotaur's upper half crashes to the ground, roaring, flailing, and refusing to die quietly. But in the dungeon, nothing is given mercy. Nothing is saved. Nothing is pitied. No one would help it. Maybe Belle might, I think absently as I absorb the creature into stomach before death can claim it. And as expected, notice. Skill, howl, acquired. I wipe a stray fleck of blood from my cheek, exhale, and move toward the stairs. Another floor down. And I'm much stronger than when I started. Only one floor left to go. 41, Child's Play. Riven Pav, Dungeon, Floor 17. So that's the big wall of grief. My voice echoes faintly as I step into the expansive chamber. The whole place feels empty, wide enough to fit a small town square, and dim enough that the ceiling disappears into darkness. On the left side, smooth, unbroken bedrock stretches from end to end, concealing a monster within. That's where Goliath is born. Or reborn, I guess. Seeing as it's not here, I mutter with a disappointed sigh. It either hasn't spawned yet, or someone beat me to it. That annoys me quite a bit. I don't even know whether I would have fought Goliath today if it was here, but not having the choice irritates me. I walk up to the wall, dragging my palm across the cool, opaque surface. It's smooth, unnaturally so, almost like a mirror. I wonder when Goliath will spawn next. I think, if I knew, I could be here before anyone else. Even if they respawn in fixed intervals, I wouldn't be able to guess without knowing when it died. Answer. The monster Rex Goliath will be spawned in approximately 3 days and 2 hours. More data will be required for a more accurate estimate. I blink. How the hell do you know that? Answer. The magic buildup within the wall, along with its accumulation rate, can be used to calculate an estimate for the formation of Goliath's magic stone based on the projected size. That's amazing. I smile. Looks like I'm still underestimated you. I rest my hand on the wall again. Any chance you could, I dunno, speed up the process? Answer. Negative. Not with my current abilities. So you're saying one day you can? Answer. Yes. A grin spreads across my face. That's good enough for me. Farming dungeon bosses sounds great. But another problem creeps in. After sweeping through floors 15 and 16, even if the monsters weren't anything dramatic, the Exelia I've accumulated should be more than enough to max my status. So, should I level up before fighting Goliath? It's not just about fighting it, even if it'd be quite fun, it's about what I get from it. If I kill a level 4 monster as a level 1, the Exelia payoff would be absurd. GS, what about Exelia itself? Is the Exelia from higher level monsters actually different? Answer. Correct. Using Minotaurs as reference, the Exelia produced by higher level monsters possesses greater density and overall potency. Difficulty of the feat increases the quantity and tier, but Exelia from higher level monsters is inherently better. I mull over that, so there is such a thing as level 1 Exelia, level 2 Exelia, etc. And within each level, there is high quality Exelia depending on the difficulty of the achievement. So Goliath would give me high quality level 4 Exelia. Answer. Affirmative. A slow, hungry smile spreads across my lips. Well, that settles that. It's definitely better to take it down before leveling up. If I play this right, I might max my level 2 stats immediately and get a double rank up. That'd save me so much effort. I think, stretching my arms above my head. Even if I don't yet know how different Exelia levels will influence my stats growing, it ought to be beneficial. My gaze drifts to the opposite end of the chamber, and see the massive passageway leading down to floor 18's safe zone. I don't really have a reason to go down there. I decide. There are no monsters, the shops are overpriced, and the quality is worse. I've already got everything I need on stomach. I might as well head back. Today was extremely productive. I shrug and turn away from the wall. GS, what time is it? Answer. It is currently 3:21 p.m. I freeze. Shit, Hestia finishes work at 4. I can already picture it, her sitting outside the door, hugging her knees like a lost child waiting for her parents to return. The image is so pitiful, it almost brings a tear to my eye, before remembering the burning fury that'll quickly replace it. If I arrive late, she'll begin questioning me, find out I went deeper than I said I would. And then she'll start nagging me. I groan, but the thought makes me smile despite myself. After all, who wouldn't want a tiny, but cute goddess fussing over them? Still, I'd rather not worry her unnecessarily. Alright, I need to rush back. I inhale slowly, sun breathing filling my body with warm energy and providing nearly infinite stamina. My boots dig into the bedrock, and I launch forward. A crack splinters beneath my foot as I propel myself down the cavern, wind exploding around me. 38 minutes to make a trip that takes normal adventurers a day. Child's play. I grin as air whips against my face. I can't even call it a challenge. The route back is effortless because GS already mapped out the dungeon. Monsters still appear, but I'm not in the mood to play with them. Minotaurs for their skills smashed in as I passed by, Almiraj get roasted by my fire breath, and any airborne monsters are hit with the unsurprisingly lethal combo of Sonic Scream and Howl, which knock them out of the sky for a quick death. I show no mercy, and without distraction, I kill every monster in a single hit. Whenever I meet groups, I use sword, making wide, sweeping cuts and cleaving through monsters as though they're paper silhouettes. Magic stones and drops, everything is absorbed into stomach as soon as I make the kill, leaving the path spotless behind me. As I climb toward the upper floors, the atmosphere shifts, become brighter and less menacing as more voices begin to appear. Adventurers begin appearing around corners or in the middle of fights, turning at the sound of my footsteps. I slow down to a more normal pace so as not to arouse too much attention, avoiding other adventurers and minding my own business. I soon exit the dungeon, finally free of the as I'm met with the bustling babble. And with 10 minutes to spare, I smirk to myself, weaving around another party. She's got no reason to suspect I did anything. That smug thought carries me all the way to the street until I reach the shop. My triumphant jog becomes a confused walk. Then a halt. I double-check the sign, and confirm I'm at the right shop, but the inside. Empty. Completely barren. Racks stripped bare. Tables cleared. All the clothes on sale have disappeared. What the hell? I think, stepping inside slowly. Did we get robbed? Impossible. In broad daylight with people constantly walking past. My stomach tightens. Hestia, I call out, my voice spreading throughout the store. And then I see movement. Hestia emerging from the back room, looking deflated. Shoulders drooped, eyes dull. My heart drops. I rush to her immediately. Hestia, are you okay? Who robbed us? My hands hover over her arms, checking for any injuries. She's unharmed, and relief washes through me, only to fade as her expression sinks even lower. She clenches her fists, trembling. Whoever it was, I'll make sure they don't live to see tomorrow. My thought stops dead as she snaps her head up, eyes blazing. That bastard Loki took everything. I blink. What? Hestia Pav, hearth of threads. Okay, I'm calm now. I exhale and nod, proud of myself. Really, I'm calm, and totally composed. Mostly. After my little outburst, Riven just walked forward and wrapped me in a hug. The next thing I knew, we were sitting on the floor, his arms looped around me from behind, his cheek resting lightly against my hair as he comforted me with his annoyingly soft and gentle voice, like he was placating a child. Even now, I'm still perched on his lap, my back pressed against his chest. This is so embarrassing, but it's nice too. My face burns. Maybe I should get upset more often. Technically Loki finally did something useful. So, Riven speaks near my ear. Can you tell me what happened now? I make the mistake of looking up at him. Our faces are too close. Our eyes meet, and he tilts his head, smiling, and my heart tries to punch its way out of my chest. I whip my gaze away before I combust. Okay, I mumble, twirling a strand of my hair to hide the tremble in my hands as I begin recounting everything. When you left this morning, it was quiet for a while. But after an hour, people started coming in. It was mostly normal folk looking for everyday clothes. I greeted everyone with a smile, showed them the new pieces. I straightened proudly, my arms crossed. Once they touched the fabrics and tried things on, they were hooked. Obviously. Of course, Riven says, amusement curling in his voice. With such a cute salesperson, who could resist coming in for a look? WWH, my entire face burns red, and I glare at him with all the strength I can muster. Why you can't just say things like that randomly? Why shouldn't I speak the truth? He counters calmly. He's enjoying this, I can tell. Thankfully, he doesn't make me melt in shame, as he continues. So what happened next? I swallow, trying to regain control. As more people came in, they attracted even more customers. The normal clothes sold fast. Then some adventurers started coming by too, asking about materials, custom sizes, all that. My mood lifts again, until I remember. And just as things were going perfectly, I pout, crossing my arms. That stupid washboard walked in. That woman has the nose of a hellhound, I swear. Riven raises a brow. Loki came here. With who? Ice and Rivaria. I grumble. Rivaria gave me the 5 million Valis for Ice's training, and asked when you're free for another session. But Loki, I rub my temples, still mortified. She sniffed out the alcohol you told me to give big spenders. She literally sniffed it out even when it was still sealed. She demanded some, and I had to explain the process like a good salesperson. I frowned deeply. Then she bought a dress and demanded her glass. And once she had one sip. My voice trembles with trauma. She bought everything else. Everything. And then she stole the rest of the alcohol too. I didn't even have anything left for other customers and had to close the shop early. I slump against his chest, defeated. And she said she'll be back, I say in a hollow voice. A heavy moment of silence hangs in the air. Then, Riven bursts out laughing. Is that all? He chokes out between breaths, head falling back slightly as he tries to catch himself. Hestia, you nearly gave me a heart attack. We made a lot of money off her, shouldn't you be celebrating? I glare up at him, offended on multiple levels. You don't understand. My voice drops. That wasn't Loki. He pauses mid-laugh. I shiver as the memory crawls up my spine. She wasn't loud or rude like normal. She wasn't making stupid comments. She didn't annoy me. She didn't even look at my chest. I even called her a washboard, and she just accepted it. I clutch his shirt desperately. Riven, she smiled. Sweetly, sweetly. Loki wouldn't smile at me like that. He blinks. I nod vigorously, believing he's finally getting it. And then she said she'll be back. Oh no, oh no, oh no. We need to go. We need to leave before she returns. Panic surges through me, and I try to shoot up from his lap. But Riven just tightens his arms, holding me firmly in place. Seems like it's too late for that. My breath freezes. What do you mean it's too late? He tilts his head toward the entrance. I follow his gaze. And my stomach drops straight into the floor. No. No, 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 anything but this. Hestia, my bestest friend and absolutely adorable goddess. Are you in there? Loki's voice floats in from outside, dripping with sweetness and joy. A horrible shiver races down my spine. She's never sounded so pleasant. That tone, I whisper, horrified. That's not the Loki I know. That's not even a Loki I want to know. I grab Riven's sleeve. She's completely shameless now. She's abandoned all her pride as a goddess. She'll do anything for more alcohol. Alcoholics are insane. Even Riven looks unsettled. One eyebrow climbs slowly, like he's trying to understand the physics behind this. You know, he says thoughtfully. I think you might actually be right. Right, then we need to run. I insist, squirming in his grip like my life depends on it. Riven, let me go. We can escape through the back. Anything would be better than this. But his arms remain solid around me. Then I see it. A spark, a slow, dangerous, mischievous grin crawls onto his face, and my heart sinks. Oh no, no no no, please, anything but that expression, I think, tears welling up in my eyes. He leans closer, voice low with amusement. But don't you think this makes things a little more? He pauses. Fun. I stare at him in pure betrayal. My fate, I realize, is sealed. 42 Clash. Loki Pav, Hearth of Threads. I stand at the entrance of the shop, arms folded, one foot tapping as I stare unblinkingly at the door. The seconds pass until a minute has elapsed. My eye twitches. They're in there. I know they're in there. I think, narrowing my eyes. They close at 4. It's after 4, so why isn't she leaving to go home? I lean in closer to the wood, whispering in a sweet voice that'd surely charm her, and show that I mean no harm. Hestia, I know you're home. Behind me, Rivalry sighs deeply. It's filled with a sense defeat and helplessness. Are you really planning to wait here all evening? It's worth it. I snap back, placing a hand dramatically over my heart. Didn't you taste it? The moment that wine touched my tongue I saw heaven. I saw paradise. I saw a world filled with nothing but joy and happiness. I bite my thumb, shivering, as the memory haunts my thoughts. I didn't get to taste it. Rivalry reminds me dryly. If you recall, quite vividly, you snatched every bottle and refused to share even a drop. I turn away without shame. It was for your own good. You're old, Mama. Too much excitement might stop your heart. Loki, Rivalry says sternly, which sends a shiver down my spine. Kidding, kidding. I wave her off, refocusing on the door. But seriously, we have to wait. I won't be able to sleep without getting a bottle. I'll give you some too. I know you well enough to say with certainty, that's a lie. Rivalry responds, you simply won't let anyone else near it. Ice hums quietly from behind in agreement, staring blankly at the door as if it hides unseen treasures. I open my mouth to defend myself, but then, the door opens. All my unnecessary thoughts immediately vanish. A big, bright grin spreads across my face as Riven steps out, looking mildly curious, while Hestia hides behind him like a scared rabbit as she throws suspicious glances my way. Is she mad about the bottles I borrowed? Borrowed, not stole. Borrowing with no intention to return, isn't theft. Riven, you're here too, I say sweetly. I even tilt my head, batting my eyelashes. Lady Loki, he greets with that calm, gentle smile. Always good to see you. Then he shifts his gaze. Rivalry, Ice, good to see you both as well. Rivalry gives a small, well-mannered nod. Likewise, I am glad to see you've recovered. Ice perks up the moment he acknowledges her, her golden eyes sharpening, staring at him with quiet intensity. I have, he responds to Rivalry, before turning to Ice. Since you gave us the 5 million Valis, I assume your DA ranked up. Ice nods. Rivalry straightens beside her. It's all thanks to you. We'd like to request further training for her, if possible. Ice doesn't speak, but she's basically drilling holes into Riven with how focused she is. I puff my cheeks out. My ice, don't fall for him. He's Hestia's, not yours, or mine, well maybe a little mine if he gives me more wine. Focus, Loki. They continue Sith pointless pleasantries, discussing arrangements for Ice's training, and other stuff like that. Meanwhile, ask about the wine. Ask about the wine. Ask about the wine. I throw increasingly desperate looks at Rivaria, who meets my gaze, and ignores me completely. Traitor. I click my tongue internally. Fine, if she won't help me, I'll take matters into my own hands. I clear my throat loudly and step forward with a bright, charming smile. Time to secure the goods. Everyone's attention shifts to me the moment I open my mouth. Lady Loki, do you need something? Riven asks with a pleasant, polite smile. I narrow my eyes internally. Oh, please, you think you can play coy with me? You know exactly why I'm here, you sly bastard. Don't insult me with that innocent act. Outwardly, I burst into loud, joyful laughter. What's with that, Lady Loki, nonsense? I give him a hearty slap on the shoulder, grinning widely. We're friends. You've been to my place, and we've had our fun. No need to be so formal. Just call me Loki. He doesn't waste a second or hesitate, and that tells me everything. My mistake then, Loki. He says smoothly, like we've been buddies for years. So, what do you need? I clasp my hands together, humming like I'm about to tell the sweetest little story. You see, I swung by earlier when I heard your familia opened a shop. A complete lie. I was wandering past and spotted Hestia, so naturally I wanted to make fun of her. And I was so impressed by the clothing on display. I continue, gesturing dramatically. The quality was unbelievable. I bought so much, and I just had to come back and ask where you get items of such exquisite craftsmanship. Such divine, tongue-melting, world-shifting craftsmanship. Riven's eyes narrow almost imperceptibly for a fraction of a second. Anyone else would have missed it. Oh, he knows exactly what I meant. I'm glad he ain't dumb. I'm glad they're to your taste. He says, emphasis on taste. Unfortunately, I can't help you. They're impossible to find anywhere else. My smile stretches. He's not a lying. So you're the only one who can get the wine. I translate. Well, I take a half step closer, hands behind my back, leaning forward with an innocent grin. I'm sure you have some way. Can't you help a friend out? I could, he admits slowly. But it's an extremely difficult process. Very time-consuming. It'd be hard for me to do it for you. Ah, there it is. The first sentence is true, but the second is absolute nonsense. He wants something in exchange. The question being what? Don't be silly, I say, waving a hand dismissively. I'm sure you can manage it. In fact, I step even closer, grinning madly. I'd be happy to help if possible. Anything you need, anything at all. You can even have M. No. Hestia erupts like an angry teapot finally exploding under pressure. She jumps between us with her arms stretched wide, which isn't effective at all, given that Riven and I both just look directly over her tiny head. Stay away from Riven, you washboard. Hestia practically explodes in front of me, glaring at me with enough righteous indignation. My eye twitches for a moment, just enough to register the mortal sin she's committed. Shut your tiny mouth, you ankle-bitting, oven-mitt-sized gremlin. I curse internally. How dare you call me flat? My fingers curl and uncurl, warming up to strangle the insolence from her, but... Calm down, Loki, calm down. Deep breaths. Do it for the wine. Do it for the wine. Do it for the... I force my stiffest smile, bending slightly to look at the little spitfire. Hestia, sweetheart, my voice is a choking wheeze through clenched teeth. Riven and I were just talking. Hestia's expression cycles through various expressions. Disgust, annoyance, irritation, before finally landing on the most dangerous one. Smug, she plants her hands on her hips, puffing up like a proud pigeon. Oh, what's this? Not even defending those mosquito bites of yours anymore. Her grin widens. Did you finally accept that you're flatter than a pancake? Every muscle in my body tenses. People have died for less. Wars started over lesser provocations. Would it be wrong for me too? No. Endure. For the wine, Loki, endure, breathe. But she's not done. HMPH. She shakes her head dramatically. Trying to seduce Riven with that flimsy, barely their body of yours, she thrusts her chest forward with a flourish. Must be tough. No, impossible. Ah, the sound is involuntary, and my soul leaves my body for a moment. You, I whisper, one hand over my heart as if physically wounded, the other trembling as it points at her. What? She huffs, folding her arms, which only makes them move. Clutching your cliff like that won't make it any bigger, Loki. Gravity clearly has nothing to work with. I stare. I have lived for billions of years. I have witnessed the birth of stars, the fall of civilizations, the rise of gods and the extinction of monsters. Never, not once, has anything hurt quite like this. You're dead. There is no thought, no hesitation, just pure instinct and rage. I leap. Hestia's eyes widen like a startled rabbit before we collide, tumbling to the ground with a loud thump, kicking up dust. No one cares about those lumps of fat you carry around. I yell as we roll, grabbing her hair like I'm reining in a horse. Floppy, pointless things. FL flat board, Hestia screeches, pinching my cheeks viciously as she kicks her legs. You're just jealous. Jealous. I flick her forehead repeatedly like rapid-fire arrows. She shrieks and retaliates by yanking my hair. We devolve into a chaotic knot of limbs, insults, and screaming, as we roll on the ground while, slapping, pinching, and hurling insults at one another like two feral cats wrestling on over a morsel of food. Ribbon Pav, hearth of threads, popcorn, I ask casually, offering Rivaria and Ice their own freshly packed bowls, after having joined them to give Hestia and Loki space to bond. Rivaria freezes, her eyes flick from the bowl to me, then back to the bowl, trying to figure out when and where I acquired it. She accepts it anyway, more out of politeness and surprise. Ice, meanwhile, stares curiously at the bowl for a few seconds, before looks back to me, her head tilted, silently requesting an explanation. That's fair, I think. Popcorn might not even exist here, since I made mine using GS and stomach. It's food, I say helpfully. Ice considers this, then she nods, accepting it as sufficient. She takes one kernel, studies it, pops it into her mouth, and freezes. Her eyes light up like a spark ignited behind them. Then, expression still blank, she quietly starts shoveling handfuls into her mouth, all while maintaining direct eye contact with me. You're supposed to watch the. Nope, not worth it. If she wants to watch me instead of OIR goddesses fighting, that's her decision. I'm not her dad. I turn back to the brawl as Loki and Hestia roll around like tumbleweed while screeching every insult known to god or man. I take a bite of popcorn and let out a pleased hum. I can't laugh too loudly. I remind myself, otherwise they'll snap back to their senses and stop fighting, and this is quality entertainment. Aren't you going to stop them? Rivaria finally asks curiously. Nope, I reply cheerfully. Isn't it fun to watch? Why should I stop it when they're clearly enjoying themselves? I think it's a form bonding, or stress relief, and probably how they show affection. I nod sagely. My nonsense seems believable enough, and for a moment, she actually looks like she's considering whether their wrestling is actually bonding. Aren't you worried your goddess will get hurt? She presses. I grin. I could ask the same about you. But no, not really. Hestia'll be fine. Because if she's hurt, she'll come crying to me about it. And I'll heal her, and comfort her, and tease her. And she'll make all sorts of adorable faces in the process. But if she wins, a smug, triumphant Hestia is equally precious. Either way, I win. Of course, I'll step in before either of them gets actually hurt. I finish sincerely. But what about you? Why aren't you stopping Loki? Rivaria stares at the wrestling goddesses for a long, tired moment, like she's reliving every exhausting day of her life. Because Loki deserves it, she says with the weary finality of someone who has endured years of nonsense. I nod respectfully. That explains everything. I return to my popcorn just in time to see Hestia yank Loki's hair hard enough to make her cry out, and my smile widens. Rivaria, after another beat of hesitation, tries her popcorn, and her eyes soften almost imperceptibly. I'd offer them a drink too, I think, but Rivaria's already suspicious about where I got the popcorn from. Ice quietly munches away, never looking away from me. Loki screeches as Hestia gets a good grip. And Hestia cackles whenever she gets the upper hand. Everything is exactly as it should be. 43 Punishments. Ribbon Pav, hearth of threads. It really wasn't anything serious. I muse as they finally separate, panting lightly and glaring daggers at each other. Just as expected, aside from rolling around on the ground, yanking hair, pinching cheeks, pulling ears, and exchanging some creatively vicious insults, nothing actually dangerous happened. Loki dusts herself off in annoyance, her cheeks bright red from all the pinching. She squints at Hestia vindictively, her eye twitching slightly. Hestia, meanwhile, glares back with bared teeth. Her eyes are watery, looking like she wants to cry and bite someone at the same time, but she manages to hold back. Loki leans forward slightly, and Hestia mirrors her. I can see the exact moment they both consider starting round 2. I cough loudly, drawing their attention and preventing the clash. Actually, Loki, I say evenly. I can sell you the alcohol at a fair price. Loki transforms instantly. Really? She explodes, practically vibrating. What? Hestia yelps, looking shocked and betrayed that I'd help her nemesis. Loki leaps toward me like a starving woman presented with their final meal. I knew you were reliable, Riven. Come here. And while I don't mind the hug, I've got to consider the future repercussions of letting her do so. I smoothly sidestep, letting her arms swish past me. Hestia would probably get mad if you hugged me. I explain gently. I don't need to look to feel the sudden burst of joy radiating from behind me. Hestia immediately darts forward, throws her arms around mine, and smashes my arm firmly between her breasts as she gives Loki the most triumphant, smug smirk I've ever seen. Loki's eye twitches. The boobs. It's the boobs, isn't it? She growls. Then she scowls at Hestia's chest specifically, her lifelong enemy, and the bane of her existence. Who needs you anyway? Loki grumbles before pivoting with the confidence of a predator. She heads straight toward Ice, who is quietly enjoying her popcorn. Loki gets behind her and reaches for her chest. Twack. Ice slaps Loki's hands away, then smacks her head without looking, her expression unchanged, mood unbothered, as she focuses entirely on the popcorn. Loki staggers back, clutching her head. She never learns, I think. I lean down to whisper into Hestia's ear. Hestia, I murmur, if you ever tried to molest me like that, I feel her breathing pause, just know that I wouldn't resist. Her entire body tenses as her face ignites into a deep shade of red. Then her grip tightens around my arm like a clamp. What are you saying? I wouldn't, I don't, she flounders, eyes darting shyly down my torso. I wouldn't do that. Is that so? I sigh, sounding genuinely disappointed. That's unfortunate. She freezes, then in a barely audible whisper. Did you want me to? And before I can answer, Riven, Loki shrieks, shaking off the head trauma, which helped her remember the alcohol by jump-started every neuron she has left. She beams up at me like a child on Christmas about to unwrap presents. How much do you want for it? I give her my most innocent smile. Hestia's glare burns a hole through Loki's skull, but Loki couldn't care less. Nothing too complicated, I say calmly. I like learning things, and I'm curious about elven magic. I'd like to learn its structure, principles, and the theory behind it. I hope to get a few lessons from Rivaria. Loki blinks, bewildered, while Rivaria raises an eyebrow, clearly surprised. Of course they're confused. A human, and a melee fighter, requesting lessons in magic he physically cannot use. But, I continue, I know Lady Rivaria is extremely busy. I'd be perfectly satisfied with demonstrations from anyone who can cast the magic. Humans can't learn elven magic anyway, so it'd be a waste of her time to instruct me personally. Everyone falls quiet as they scrutinize me. I know Loki would agree to letting Rivaria teach me in exchange for the alcohol. And Rivaria is the natural choice, since no one in Orario knows more about elven magic than her. But she's not the one I'd benefit the most from. Yes, she has 9 magics, but all of them are derivatives of the 3. And they're too recognizable. It'd be impossible to use them publicly without someone drawing the link. Even her skill, Fairy Anthem, which increases the range and power of her magic in proportion to the chant's length, might be useless to me since GS's chant nullification could completely invalidate it. I exhale quietly, hopefully they recommend the right person immediately. But just in case. As they're still mulling my proposal over, I'd prefer someone who really understands the theory behind elven magic. I add lightly, not just the practical casting. Rivaria's brows rise with interest. In that case, the only person in our familia who meets all your requirements would be Lefia. Her tone shifts, a thoughtful hum trailing off. Then her gaze drifts to Ice. However, does she dislike me? I ask. That's one way to put it. Rivaria answers with a resigned nod. How did you know? She made it pretty clear during my spar with Ice. I shrug. Please ask her on my behalf. If she refuses, I turn to Ice, who has paused mid-snack, giving me a blank stare. Could you help convince her? Ice hums once and nods. Why does she feel so unreliable right now? I wonder. Do I need to motivate her? If you succeed, I add casually. We can do a dungeon dive together in a few days. If you're free. Ice lights up instantly. Her eyes sharpen, determination now burning quietly within them. She nods again, this time with so much weight it seems like she's making a sacred vow. And with that, I'm 90% certain she'll drag Lefia to me by the collar, whether Lefia agrees or not. But it's not too big a concern since Lefia would never turn down something Ice wants to do. Everybody wins. Hestia, however, is staring at me with a slight sulk. Is she jealous? I think happily. When would you be available, then? Rivaria asks, pushing past Loki's growing impatience. I'm not going to the dungeon for the next 2 days, so anytime during that period. Rivaria nods and opens her mouth to continue when. Are you guys done yet? Loki cuts in loudly. We agreed, so where's the goods? She sticks her hand out, tapping her foot like an impatient child. And there goes the sweet Loki from earlier. Now that she's secured the deal, the mask is gone, and she's no longer pretending. But Lefia hasn't agreed yet. I say calmly, who do you think I am? Loki snaps proudly. If she refuses, I'll just persuade her. Lefia can't resist my charm. Rivaria pinches the bridge of her nose. I nod. All right then, hold on a bit. I step back into the shop, head into the storage area, pull 6 bottles from stomach, and pack them neatly into a container. When I return and hand it to Loki, she practically drools over it. She lifts one bottle with both hands, holding it to her face like a fragile, newborn child. Then she nuzzles it, sighing dreamily. I stare at her with a deadpan expression. Hestia looks irritated. Rivaria sighs. Ice still seems focused only on whatever plan she's forming to deal with Lefia. Sorry you had to witness this. Rivaria murmurs, grabbing Loki by the collar and beginning the long, humiliating drag away. I'll let Lefia know. She'll meet with you tomorrow. Thanks, Rivaria. I wave as they move off. Rivaria nods back. Everything seems sorted, except, why is she still here? Ice remains rooted to the spot, staring at me. Only when my eyes drop to the empty bowl in her hands do one understand. I sigh, return inside, pretend to fetch her a fresh bowl of popcorn before handing it over. She accepts it, immediately begins eating, and finally follows after Rivaria and Loki. Today's been so productive, and I can't wait to meet Lefia. I grin contentedly. But, naturally, happiness is never allowed to last long. Riven, Hestia's sing-song voice slides right down my spine like cold water. Yes, goddess, I turn slowly. She's smiling sweetly, very sweetly. I know her well enough to know that means I'm in trouble. Why would she be mad? I haven't done anything wrong. You said you weren't going to the dungeon for the next 2 days, right? She asks in a deceptively innocent tone. My stomach drops. I would never take 2 days off without a reason. What? She continues, still smiling. Did you do today that made you suddenly decide not to go back? I hope. Her voice hardens. It wasn't anything dangerous. Why? Why does she only become smart when it involves interrogating me? Hestia Pav, church basement room. Ah, the sound spills out of me before I can stop it, soft and blissful, as Riven's fingers glide down the length of my spine. His hands move with frightening precision, making slow circles, deliberate presses, and little sweeps that unravel every knot of tension in my back. Each touch melts another piece of the day's stress until my limbs feel warm and heavy, sinking into the thin mattress beneath me. The dim lantern light flickers softly, making everything feel peaceful. Too peaceful for the boy currently undergoing his punishment. Do you regret what you did? I ask, keeping my tone strict even as a traitorous smile threatens my lips. Absolutely, Riven replies, perfectly serious. But he's lying. I don't need divine authority to know that, and his fingers don't even slow down. What do I do with him? I pout internally. He's only been an adventurer for a few days. A few days, and he already marched all the way down to the 17th floor alone. Alone, who does that, and without telling their goddess? Every time I think about it, the fear, annoyance, and disbelief swirl together in my chest. And worst of all, I feel helpless. But when I confront him, he tells me the truth. That it isn't dangerous for him. Should I just let him be? Trust that he's capable and knows when to stop? His thumbs press deeper into the base of my spine. My breath hitches as warmth spreads through my whole lower back. Maybe I should. Then a different thought slips quietly into my mind. A sly and devious thought I shouldn't entertain. If I let him do whatever he wants but make him give me massages every time he stresses me out, don't I win anyway? A slow grin curls onto my face. Yes, yes, that's perfect. Hestia. His voice vibrates warmly through the quiet room, snapping me out of my plotting. What is it? I try to keep my tone stern, but I can hear the softness in it. It concerns me that he sounds amused. You're really easy to read, you know, he says gently. My heart jumps, then begins thundering within me. How does he already know? I only thought about it for a second. Why is he so perceptive at times like this, but completely hopeless when it comes to his own safety? "You don't know what you're talking about," I lie, terribly. "Sure," he chuckles, "but remember earlier, when I said I wouldn't resist if you tried to grope me?" Heat punches straight into my cheeks. Why? Does the same apply to you? Before I can ask what he means, his hands begin to move. Slowly, purposefully, a shiver races up my back as his palms travel lower, tracing over the curve of my waist, down to the soft dip of my hips. His fingers slide along my sides, before settling firmly on my upper thighs. My breath catches, hard. Riven, WWH, wug are you? I twist my words, even biting my own tongue in panic. I'm punishing a naughty goddess who was planning to abuse her innocent child. He says, voice smooth and maddeningly calm. His thumbs stroke slow, lazy circles onto my thighs, barely applying pressure and just teasing me. Eek, I squeak, every nerve in my body lighting up at once. I whirl around, flustered and breathless, only to find his face hovering just above mine, smiling, his eyes half-lidded with amusement. He looks far too pleased with himself. I'm simply completing my assigned punishment. He murmurs, "You can tell me to stop anytime you want, goddess." He draws the word out softly, like a caress. And for a moment, I forget how to breathe, frozen and paralyzed like prey before a predator. Hello everyone. How are you? If you've enjoyed the chapter and book thus far, please consider leaving me some comments, reviews, or power stones. It really helps the book out. So, I tried to be a little spicy at the end. And it feels so underwhelming after the fact. I was dying of shame while writing, but when reading, it was just meh, wild, almost doesn't feel worth the effort loudly crying. But anyway, on to the chapter. For starters, I have a plan. Damn, why didn't anyone tell me Lefia was op? I knew she was a genius, but not that much of a prodigy. Can't let her go now. I tried to keep everyone in character, and I think I was decent at it. Next, I plan to give Riven the next 2 days off, sorting out pending issues, like Naza, Hefi, etc. And, has anyone realized that his advisor is probably sad, thinking he's dead, since he just stopped coming? I feel bad for her. So we should probably sort that out. But, I suppose that's all I have to say. You can also read 10 chapters ahead and support me at patreon.com/amweekly. I hope you all have a great day. Night Night Bridge. To be continued.